All right, Q&A, Q&A. Hopefully you can see this. Should I hold this forever until I'm actually live? I can't really tell. So we've got some Q&A today. Are we live? Can you give me a arm emoji, bicep emoji if you can see this? All right, so we got a list of questions from clients that I wanted to go through here. It's made the most sense to just throw it up on my timeline and tag those who asked a question. So I can never quite get this new Facebook Live figured out. But I assume you can see me. So if you can, that's great. Okay, yeah. I got it on my phone, so we're good. All right, so without further ado, first question was from Stacy. And again, if you have any questions, obviously use the comment box. Drop them in there. I'll try to answer them live or later on the replay. If you're watching this live, type live. If you're watching the replay, which will happen later, this is a bit Twilight Zone, just type replay so I can come back and check on you. Okay, so first one was, how do you balance weight training and cardio? How do you prioritize those two? And, well, quite frankly, cardio is the side dish. Calories drive the weight loss bus. Strength train to maintain muscle. Look sexier, toned and tightened, for lack of better words. Jason, welcome. Julie, welcome. Hey, Julie, there we go. Nice. So the problem with cardio is great for your heart health, great as, you know, some calorie burn from it, but your body adapts quite quickly to it. So say you start this week running a mile a day, you're going to get quite a bit of calorie burn from that. You'll probably see some weight loss. Week 3 or 4 of running a mile a day, your body has adjusted to it. You're a much more efficient runner. The calories your Fitbit tells you you are burning are not accurate. They're never accurate at the best of times. But by week 4 of doing the same thing, your body's really adjusted to it. You're not getting that same effect. So stagger running, save it for later. It's a good tool when you got to break through a plateau, but doing it day after day, unless you really enjoy running or you have some specific running goals, I would advise keeping it out. Okay, walking's great. You're not going to burn out from that. Walking paired with good diet and strength training is sort of the trifecta there. Okay. All right, Claudette, welcome. So the second question was from Brent, the importance of protein. Well, a few things there. The first would be it's more filling, so you get less cravings. More satiating, I guess is the word. It preserves muscle loss when you are restricting calories to lose fat, so that you don't throw the baby muscle out with the bathwater fat, ideally. And there's a higher thermic effect to it. So you burn as much as 30% of the calories from protein just from having to digest it. So a calorie of protein is not equal to a calorie of carbs because there's a higher thermic effect, if that makes sense. That's why it's so important. All right? That was sort of the basis for that. Again, it comes in trying to gain muscle, that kind of thing too. But we'll leave it there. All right. So Joey asks, how do you approach the maintenance phase I always talk about? Joey's lost almost 50 pounds now. He's definitely a candidate for maintenance at this stage. So typically, you know, obviously you can't go back to your old habits. You know, once you've made that commitment, you're going to have to eat and train like a healthy person to some degree. But there is more flexibility. So in the early going, I suggest you treat it like a fat loss phase, eating kind of the same meals, tracking your calories, but then you get more flexibility to go out for dinner with friends and family, have a burger, and still sort of keep the weight where it is. And you use that time to kind of build or focus on more muscle building. Alan, welcome. So if that makes sense, gradually increase calories over time, paying attention to your scale weight. If you want to gain muscle, then you would push the calories a little bit higher as you go. But if you're just trying to maintain over summer, you can do things a little bit more flexible. Okay, so there's a fine line there. People get a little too liberal and then they undo all their hard work. So we can talk more at length with you if you need it, Joey, because everyone's a little bit different. David, I know you're on, so this is yours. Snack options at night. I wish I came more prepared for this, but it doesn't have to just be cottage cheese. You can get lots of good recipes online for protein cookies, protein brownies, that kind of thing. Find something that works for you. I got a pretty good protein cookie recipe that I use. You could do Proyo, which again is quite filling. It's Greek yogurt with some flavored protein powder in it. Mix it up. You can freeze that to turn it into more of an ice cream consistency. What else do I like? I like a shake with a lot of ice, a lot of greens, so you get like a liter of liquid. Chug that back, less likely to have cravings. But again, at most cases, people have, if they do things right during the day, they have room for a sweet snack after dinner, glass of wine, some ice cream, if you do it right. Pretty much everybody can make that work with their tracking. All right, very good, David. Any other questions? You can drop them in the comments on that fact, but we're going to move on to the next one here, which is shifting gears to muscle building. So we got Kelly who asked about the mind-muscle connection in the gym. So if you haven't heard of that, it's where you kind of intuitively know which muscle you're working best and focus on it. If you're doing curls, you obviously want the bicep to do most of the work. That's sort of an intuitive thing that comes with practice and lifting weights long enough where you can just make that connection right away. Some people have muscle groups, they can do it more easily. Brandon, the birthday boy's on. The bearded wonder. Holy man, that beard adds a few pounds. Abby's on too. So on that note, Kelly, mind-muscle connection, I would go slower to start with. Really slow, controlled eccentrics to really feel that muscle work for whatever muscle you're working. And nail form first before, ego lifting and putting too much weight on the bar. So you may have to restart certain weights right from scratch. If you've been squatting with core form and half-assing reps, then you may have to go back to the drawing board on that to some degree. I know I had to make that transition in my 20s when I was young and foolish. But yeah, focus on a slower lowering of the weight. Check your ego at the door. Go a little bit lighter than you think is necessary, at least initially. All right. Very good. Ross, the booze hound here. How do you fit in alcohol? Well, that's kind of a slippery slope. If you're in a weight loss phase, I recommend keeping alcohol to a minimum. If you're just maintaining, you can obviously get a little bit more flexible with that, but I like clients to track and treat it like fat calories, because alcohol alone has 7 calories per gram, pretty similar to fat at 9, and often you get some carbs with the alcohol in beer or whatever you're drinking if you're using mixes. So if you're going to do it, only drink to that point where you can still have some inhibitions about you and not overeat. Bernie, welcome. Oh, Kenny, welcome. Kenny, Alberta, there you go. So on that note, alcohol, if you do it, try to eat sparingly in that window, because where people get in trouble is combining high fatty foods with alcohol. Your body's prioritizing alcohol to digest. So the food you eat, in theory, more likely to get stored as fat during that time. I mean, that's an overly simplified answer, but that would be the way I would approach it. Is if you're going to have extra beers, you got to sacrifice something else. No dessert, right? No fries. All right, Brent Whiteway again asked about setting your macros. Well, I have kind of a complicated formula, but I'm going to tell you about the simple one, which is take your body weight today in a fasted state, multiply it by 10, multiply it again by 12. That gives you sort of a calorie range, at least initially, to lose weight. I would say I typically go lower, times 8, with if you're older, if you're north of 50, pretty sedentary, particularly women, may have to go lower than that 10 to 12 range. But I would start high and see what happens. Okay, and then if you're trying to gain muscle or maintain, then obviously more calories. Body weight times 12, body weight times 15. Even some young bucks who are really active can get higher than that. And then the only other piece to that macro thing is protein at a gram per pound of body weight. So if you're 180 pounds, aim to get 180 grams of protein in throughout the day, spaced evenly. And then fill the gaps with fat or carbs, whatever you prefer, as long as you're under that calorie limit. Okay? Troy, welcome. Okay, we got one more question here, I think. But yeah, if you have any, obviously drop them in the comments. So Laurel asked about where to find healthy recipes online. I mean, I'm not overly well versed in recipes. I like the simple approach, meat and potatoes. Don't have time for these elaborate recipes, but I do give clients that recipe book that you have, the Metabolic Cookbook. which gives you a dozen or so for each meal. You could go to rippedrecipes.com, which is more treats and stuff. T Nation has some. I mean, any recipe can be modified to fit your plan, is my thinking. If it calls for 3 cups of butter, obviously it's not a good choice, but you can adjust things and kind of experiment a bit. All right, very good. I think that's all all she wrote. I do have my summer sprint program. I know a lot of you on here are already in it, where we are structuring calories a little bit lower during the week to give you a buffer for beer and barbecues on weekends, and kind of towing that line to make sure you still see progress and you don't wake up on September 1st 10 pounds heavier. In fact, you're 10 pounds lighter with the pant size or 2 drop. So if you are not currently in my program, if that interests you, you can send me a message with the word summer. We get rolling on after Canada Day with this group. Okay? So thanks for joining me. 10-minute limit. Hopefully my questions didn't confuse, but if they did, you can message me now. Samantha, my new client is on. Welcome, welcome. You missed the boat, but you can hit the replay and watch everything that just transpired. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Good long